Hi there, Laura from Gold Star Work here. Welcome to the first day of my 12 days of Christmas cards. So I'm going to be doing alternative days, and one day I'll be doing a Christmas card and the next day I'll be doing a Christmas look. And one of the looks that you'll see is this one that I'm wearing now. And so I'm going to do a variety of Christmas cards. I will do some acrylic painting cards, and I'll do some watercolour cards, and I might do some paper crafty type cards, and they will require either some level of painting or they'll be very beginner friendly ones. So I'm going to do a variety. So today is going to be an acrylic card of this pine tree and a snowman. So if you're interested in acrylic painting or you like to do your own Christmas cards, then just keep watching and I'll show you how I did this. So I'm just going to mix up some colour for my paints. I'm going to take some ultramarine blue here and I'm going to mix it in with a bit of alizarin crimson, and this is going to give us a nice deep purpley grey colour. And I'm going to take some of that colour and put a little bit of this yellow ochre into it, and it'll grey it up even more. And as I'm painting, I'll add in some white as well. And I'm just using my palette knife, and I'm going to wipe that off with my paper towel. That way I don't have to get any water in my paint mix, because I can just wipe it off and then use it again. So I'm also going to get some of this forest green colour here, and I'm going to get some of the titanium white and put it next to the forest green. And that's going to be for my mix for the tree. So I've just done a little sketch of what I'm going to be painting. It's very rough and I'm going to end up covering it up with my paint anyway. I just wanted to have an idea of what I was doing, and I am using a piece of canvas. It's a acrylic canvas pad that I've just taped onto a piece of cardboard, and I'm going to start off with a number 18 flat brush, and I'm going to use that purple grey mixture that we mixed with the ultramarine blue and the alizarin crimson, and I'm going to run that all across the sky area. And I'll adjust the colour as I go down by adding more red or more blue in it as I want it, just so that it's not all one colour gradient. The same way as I do it when I do my just blue skies. This is a nighttime sky, but I'm doing it in exactly the same method. I'm going to get a stiff bristle brush here. This is a very cheap one that is very frayed. Is it going to focus? No. So it's very frayed around the edges. And oops. And I'm going to do some stars on my picture, and I'm just going to use the white paint, and I've mixed some water in there, and I'm just going to splatter that on. And then I put a bit more water and a bit more paint on to get some bigger splatters. And I'm going to dry that off with the hairdryer before I do the next bit. So So I've washed my brush off and I've just dried it with my paper towel, and I'm going to do my snow. And I've made my horizon line about 3/4 of the way down because I don't want it right in the middle, because it makes a more pleasing picture if it's up higher or down lower rather than right in the middle in general. And I'm going to mix some of the sky colour in with some white. And because it's snow, I'm not too worried about having it even, because I'm going to do kind of snow drifts. I'll add a bit more white and add a bit of the colour in as well, just to make it a little bit more interesting and show dips and valleys in the snow. A lot of this will be covered up anyway because this is just the background. I'm going to go in with a smaller flat brush. This is number 10. And I'm going to go in with that same colour that I used at the beginning of the snow, just that grey that we made with a bit of colour added into it. I'm just tidying up the edge of the snow there. So I need to dry that off as well, and then I can start with the tree. So I'm going to start off with some chalk, and just because I don't want my tree to go all wonky, I'm just using some white chalk and a straight edge just to give me a guide of where the tree is going. Then I'm going to get my brush, and I've got some green and some white on my brush. And I'm going to start off at the bottom of the tree. And there are lots of different ways of doing pine trees and Christmas trees. So in this series I'll show you different ways to do it, just because sometimes it's nice to have a bit of variation, but also sometimes one method might not work for you very well, and you'll find another method will work better. So you can experiment and try different ways. And then we're building up the layers. Of the tree. So the idea is you get smaller as you go up, and you have more dark in this part of the tree. And more light on these parts of the tree, if you get my meaning. So if I didn't have that line there, my tree would probably be going over here. So that's just because I'm not very good at doing a straight line, because I'm on an angle while I'm painting this. So the idea is you put the green on the brush first, and then you put the white on the brush, and that way the white goes on first and then the green comes through. And sometimes it doesn't always work, so you've got to add a bit of extra of the dark or the light. And if you're getting too much paint built up on your brush, just give it a wash and then wipe it on the paper towel. and then you can go back in with your colour. Now, as you can see, my tree is not perfectly straight, and I'm fine with that because it just gives it a bit more character. If it was completely straight, it wouldn't be as interesting, I don't think. So as you can see, you can go over bits if you need to, just to emphasise any areas. And I'm going to need some brown, so I'm going to use the same colours that I used in the sky, the blue, ultramarine blue and the red, and I'm adding more of the yellow in to make it a brown, so I get a nice brown colour. So we're still using those three colours. Oops, I had a bit of white in my hand, so now I've got a bit of white right there. Just need a little bit more water on my brush because it wasn't going very smoothly. And because I want to show a bit of light direction, I'm going to put a little bit of yellow on that side. And I'm going to put a little bit more of the blue on this side to deepen it up a bit. And we want the snow to look like it's coming around the tree. We don't want the tree to just sort of be floating. And you can also tidy up any bits with the snow. You don't want that tree to float in the air, you want it to be part of the landscape. Then another way to do that is to do a bit of shadow. So I just made that grey that we used in the snow just a little bit darker and a little bit more watery, and I'm just putting that in for a shadow. I only need a suggestion of it because the snowman's going to cover up a lot of it anyway. So I need to dry that before I do my snowman. So I've just marked off where the edges of my card are going so that I don't make it too big. And I'm going to just draw on the first circle of my snowman. And then I'm going to adjust the shape because sometimes if it's too round it doesn't look quite right. So that's just chalk that I'm using there. So I've got my snowman in and thinking he's about the right size, so I'm going to paint him in. And I'm going to do it the same colours that I've done here, but I'm going to make him a lot lighter. And I might add a bit more of the red, and just to make my snowman a little bit warmer looking. So I added a bit more water in my paint because I was seeing that it was getting a bit thick and dry. And he doesn't have to be perfect because snowmen aren't perfect. So don't get too hung up on making a perfect looking snowman. And I'm making the bottom of that circle a little bit flat. And I'm going in with just the white, and I'm going to put a bit more white on this side of him, his face, and on his body. And the paint's still wet, so it's all blending in together, and I can always go back after it's dry and add a bit more white if I need to. And I'm going to go in with the darker blue, like some of that colour in there that I mixed a little bit of white in. And then I'm taking most of the paint off the brush just to make a bit more dimension in them. And it makes it a bit more 3D looking. And I'm going to dry him off. I'm also going to add a little shadow behind the snowman as well, just to make him look like he's sitting on the ground and not floating around. You don't have to be too fussy with it. I've just got water on my brush now. I'm using my finger just to tap it out a bit so it's not quite so harsh. Although snowmen and pine trees are Christmassy anyway, I find you can make anything into a Christmas card if you put a Christmas hat on it. So I'm going to put a Christmas hat on my snowman. I'm just using a little brush, little round brush with a 0. And straight paint, so there's nothing else, no water or anything in the paint, just straight paint to get a good opaque look, which is another reason why I used cadmium red, because it's a nice opaque red. And then I'm going to go in with my titanium white and do a little pom-pom on the end. And some little fluffy bits around the edge of its hat. And then I'm going to go in with that alizarin crimson, which is a darker red. And I'm just going to add a little shadow. And the paint's still wet, so I can blend it while it's still wet. And then I'm going to go into the shadow colour that we did on the snowman as well, and just do a little bit underneath there as well, just so he stands out a bit. And I've just wiped the paint off my brush, and I just want to smooth out that bit a little bit so it's not quite so strong. And just adjust it as you need to. So now we need a little eye and a nose. So I've got some orange here. This colour is just called orange. So nothing nothing fancy about that colour. Just says exactly what it is. So I'm going to put in his little orange nose. And I'm going to put in his little eye. So I'm just using that really dark colour there for his eye. I'm not using black or mixing any other colour. And I'm going to use some brown for his arm. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to mix the ultramarine blue and the alizarin crimson with some of that yellow ochre until I get a darker brown that I like the look of. It's kind of a purpley brown, so it fits in with all the rest of the painting. Sorry, I pause a lot when I'm painting and talking at the same time because I find it difficult to talk and paint at the same time. So there's often a lot of pauses as I go. And then I'm going to use a much bluer purpley mix, so I've just added more of the blue into the alizarin crimson and the ultramarine. And I'm just doing a little string. And I'm making sure I've washed all that paint out of my brush before I use it again. And then I'm going to go into some yellow. And this time I'm using cadmium yellow light, which is a very lemony yellow. And I'm not putting too much on my brush at first. I'm kind of doing a little kind of halo-y kind of look to the light. And then I'm going to go into my white. I'm going to go into the orange paint again with that same zero brush, and I'm just going to put a little bit of the yellow, the orange, sorry, on the side of the lights. And then I'm going to go back into the yellow and do a more targeted yellow with the lights. So I'm going over where the white is to make the yellow really stand out. So now I've got some white with some yellow mixed in with it, and I'm going to reflect some of that light yellow onto the snowman, so it looks like the lights are shining on the snowman. And I think I might do a blue scar. The brush is a bit small, so I'm going to use a slightly bigger brush. This is number 3 round that I'm going to use this time. And I'm just going to use the ultramarine blue without anything else on it. I'm just increasing the yellow glow around the lights. And we're going to go into some interference paint. This is a paint that when you open it up, it looks pretty much white, but when the light catches it, it reflects different colours. So this one is a gold one. So I'm going to put this on the lights. And you'll be looking at it thinking it doesn't look any different, but it does when you move the card around and the picture around and see it just reflecting a little bit. And the other thing I'm going to do is get my red interference paint. I'm going to get my red and I'm going to put some of that on his hat. So that's what the red looks like. So in real life you can see a very slight kind of red tint to it, but mostly it just looks white. And I'm going to get my iridescent medium and I'm going to put that on the snowman himself. And I'm going to use a filbert brush for this. So I have no idea what number this one is. A 6, number 6 filbert brush. It's just a soft brush. I'm just going to get some of my iridescent medium out of there. I'm going to add it to my snowman. And I will show you the effect it has when I've finished, because you won't be able to see what it's doing. And I might add a little bit of this to the tree as well to make it a little bit shimmery. And I'm also going to get my interference green, if I can find it, here it is. And I'm going to put some of that on the tree as well. So I'll get my brush that I painted for the tree and I've got my green interference paint here. You don't have to do the step with the interference paint, but because I've got them I'm going to do it because it just adds a little extra. And we all know I can be a little extra. So I'm just adding it to the tips of the tree where I can see the tips of the tree. So you might be able to see that, how the light's shining on that if I tilt it. So you can see how the light shines on some of that interference paint, on his hat and on the tree, and it makes the lights shine as well. So there's our first Christmas card for the Christmas season. So I hope you enjoyed that video and I will see you later. Bye everyone, happy painting!